For this tutorial, let's talk about charts. Now, a chart is a graphical representation of data, and different charts are good for different types of data. Go ahead, make sure you're on the Data tab of our document and select B2 to B8. So this is your 2010 information. And all of our charts are found on the Insert tab over here in the Charts section. So here are all the different kinds of charts that you can do. We're going to do a pie chart for this one, so that looks like a little pie. If you click the down arrow, then you have several different options that you can pick, and notice it gives you a preview as you go over the different kinds of pie. Also notice when you get your chart, it says Series 1.7, value 1575, which is 31% of the pie. So as you scroll over this chart, it's going to tell you exactly what value each of these slices is. Let's go ahead and delete this chart. It doesn't really tell us a whole lot. So if we wanted to make our chart make a little more sense, if we select from A2 to B8, and then put in our chart, now it makes a little more sense. In our legend down here at the bottom, we have what each slice of the pie means. Now in the first chart that we did, all it had was the numbers, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to most people. Moving your chart's pretty easy. If you just click in the chart, get this four-headed arrow, then you just click and drag. We're going to move our chart. You can also resize your chart here. And this is considered an embedded chart because it's on the same page that all of your data is on. Later, we will move, if you actually move this chart, which we're going to do now. So if you go to the Chart Tools Design tab, and all the way to the right it says Move Chart. And we're going to put it on a new sheet labeled 2010 Pie. Then we have now created a chart sheet. So now the chart is on its own page instead of being an embedded chart with the data. Alright, let's go back to our data page. And this time we're going to select from A2 to F8. And on our Insert tab, we're going to select a column chart. It's a little bit bigger so you can see it. And we can modify the chart if we go up to, again, Chart Tools Design and change chart type. We can modify the type of chart we have. I'm going to change mine to a 3D cluster column chart, which just makes it three-dimensional. And let's also, with this same data, insert a line chart. So to do that, you need to click off and then select your information again, and then select line chart. One thing to notice when you're creating charts is you generally don't want your totals column to be included. This causes things to be a little bit skewed. So if I go in and drag this little fill handle between my sections up one, I now am only including A3 to A7, and then over from F2 to F7. And notice that my chart is a little bit easier to read than it was before. So here's before, and this total sales is over here. If I just take that off, it makes that a little easier to understand everything compared instead of add it all together. Let's move these two charts to their own sheets. So again, Chart Tools Design, Move Chart, be a column chart. And this will be a line chart when we move it. We are going to add some design options. So to do that, Chart Tools Design tab, and then we're going to add markers. To add markers, we actually need to change our chart type. So do line with markers. The other thing we're going to do is switch our row and our column. And what this does is it makes the lines our different products, and the markers are the years. So you can see how over the years different products are trending. This is a little easier to read than having the years on the axis of the chart. Before we get too far into formatting, let's go ahead and look at recommended charts. So this time let's just do A2 to F7. And on the Insert tab, go ahead and do Recommended Charts. And in this, it will actually tell you which chart is going to be the best for the type of data that you are looking at. So to put one of these in, we'll do the bar chart. Go ahead and click OK. Let's move our bar chart to a new sheet. Chart Tools Design, Move Chart, Bar Chart. And let's look at some things that are very similar in every chart. One thing is it's always going to be a graphical representation of some sort. So you have your axes, and axes show on every chart except the pie chart, because that one is parts of a whole, so it will always equal 100%. Up here you have the title, so this is whatever you're trying to show is generally what you want your chart title to be. Your data series is actually your bars or your lines in the case of a line chart. Now if we put data labels on here, go ahead, bar chart, add chart element, Chart Tools Design all the way to the left, and let's add data labels. And you can decide where you want them to be. But notice as I hover over these, the data labels essentially just tell you exactly how much that particular part of your data series represents. And then we also have the legend that I mentioned earlier. So this gives you a key as to exactly what each color in your chart represents. We're going to edit the chart title. So to do that, it's just like a text box. You click in it, highlight your text. 2010 annual sales is what we're going to call this. If you wanted to edit the font, highlight, Home tab, and you have all of the same editing capabilities that you normally have with fonts. Okay, on to changing the color of the data series. There are a couple of ways to do this. On the Design tab, if you click this down arrow, you have a few options here to change the way that it looks and also the background color. You can also, if you double click on a single slice of pie, you can change the color. Let's move to our column chart and back to the Design tab, and let's look at some different chart elements that we have. You can change where your legend is, so you can take the legend off if you feel like it explains itself. Put it right, top, left, and once you get it on the left, if you click on it, then you can actually click and drag and move it exactly where you want. You can move it to the right and left this way as well. Quick layout options are some pre-formatted looks for your table. You can click this Change Colors. All right, back to our Data tab. We're going to look at one more kind of graph. For this, go to cell G3, and on the Insert tab, just to the right of your charts, you have something called sparklines. And what a sparkline is, essentially, is a mini graph that you put with your data. We're going to do a line graph. And when you click on the line graph, it says choose the data that you want. Your data range would be in one row, and it's just the items that you want included in this mini graph. So we are going to do from B3 to F3. And click OK. And now we have this little mini graph that shows our sales over time. Cool thing about Sparklines is that they are fillable. So once you set up the first one, you can just fill it down. You don't have to go in and recreate it every time. They are also highly customizable, so you can pick whatever color that you want. Before I do this next thing, I'm just going to move my Sparklines over one column. Then I'm going to highlight A3 to A7 and click this little quick analysis button that pops up. We're going to look at totals. And we're going to hit this arrow on the side. So these will give me totals in the row below my selection. But I actually want it to go to into the column to the right of my section. We're going to look at the percent total. And what this does is it quickly analyzes the information and gives me a percentage for each item out of 100. So how much of my sales belong to each of these different items. So this is another way to quickly analyze your information and get some information other than looking at a chart.